Welcome to this session. My name's Tom Galanis. I run a business called Tag Media. We're an affiliate marketing consultancy business. The session, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves shortly, but the session really is it's kind of an obvious point, really, that teamwork makes dream work. And of course, operators and affiliates really ought to work in partnership together and do when it comes to commercial arrangements. But one area which has been on the radar, particularly in this market in the UK for a good 2.5 years, I'd say now, is compliance. It's been one that is somewhat thrust on the industry in late 2017 and has seen us almost on the back foot and be very reactive towards change in the UK and now in Sweden as well, in particular. So we cover off a series of points and issues, really, initially starting around the process of compliance and moving towards whether or not we can still, in a market such as the UK, grow as a business, both in terms of operating and affiliate partnerships. And then we're looking at, I guess, more forward thinking, which is really important to do these days, and look more about sort of player responsibility and marketing responsibility in the affiliate space. But before I jump in and let the panelists introduce themselves, just like a quick straw poll of hands. For any affiliates in the room, please raise your hand. A few. Any operators? Far too busy working. There's one, two over there. Any regulators? Anyone who works for the regulator side? No? Any press? Just one. There we go. Thank you. There's some others as well. But starting on my left, Ian, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
My name is Ian Sims. I was an affiliate for 12 years, from 2004 to 2016, mainly working in casino and slots. Sold my business in 2016 and moved into compliance. Started up some software called Rightlander, which works for operators, monitoring affiliates and marketing messages in multiple territories around the world. So we keep an eye on what's happening with regulation from a marketing point of view in each country, and we make sure that the marketing messages being sent out are correct.
Hi, I'm Elaine Gardner. I'm the Affiliate Operations Manager at Gaming Innovation Group. I've been in affiliate marketing for 11 years now, and I've held every position between affiliate manager, head of affiliates, and now I'm looking after the operations at GIG.
Hi, I'm David De Silva. I'm CEO of EasyOdds. I'm relatively new in affiliate. I've only been doing it a couple of years. I was previously on the operator side, so I kind of bring a lot of inbuilt regulatory and compliance knowledge in having worked on operator side into what I currently do in an affiliate business.
Great. So we've got a great range of panelists here from an operator perspective, from an affiliate perspective, and from a tool perspective. Sorry, Ian. But I'd like to address the issue of tools, and just discuss what tools are currently available in the market. Obviously, Ian, you're going to be mentioning Rightlander again, but more importantly around tools. Any particular success stories in terms of the implementation and use? I guess from your perspective, Ian, but also Elaine from an operator side as well. How have you found the tools? Are they useful? I'll start with Elaine before I jump to Ian. And any quantifiable success stories that you can share with the audience?
I think we'll use Rightlander as an example. I've worked with Ian in the past at previous in jobs, and there is various tools out there, but the main is obviously to highlight things that take affiliate managers a lot of manual time and like trawling through sites, and it makes our job a lot easier. I guess every story is a success story as long as it makes it compliant, right? But you've probably got some really good ones.
Well, we see quite a lot of... there's been a change in the industry in terms of compliance and how affiliates approach compliance from when we first started to what we see now. A lot of affiliates know that they have to be compliant if they want to work with the regulated operators. But we still, to this day, we see some quite interesting stuff coming up. As an example of that, some of you will already be well aware of a very public thing recently where certain affiliates have been targeting self-excluded players. So they've been targeting terms like not on GamStop or non-GamStop, and the same in Sweden with the...
Shall we not call them affiliates? I think that's well, there's a different word for them.
Okay, there is another word for that, yes. But they're ultimately, these are vulnerable players, and arguably vulnerable players, but they're certainly players that have chosen to self-exclude. And there's a group of affiliates based generally outside the UK that are targeting markets with these terms. And that came to light around about August, but it's still ongoing. But what's been quite interesting because of the publicity, and not just our tool, but various tools discovering this and pushing this out to the operators, the licensed operators have managed to withdraw themselves from that. So you're still seeing it going on. If you do a search in Google for casinos not on GamStop or similar in Sweden, you will still see these results coming up as PPC results. You'll still see pages on affiliate sites targeting that and telling you where you can still play. But when you look at those pages, you'll find very much unregulated, unlicensed casinos on those pages. So from a regulated and a compliance perspective, it's been a success story. But from the regulator's point of view, it's still happening and there's not much they can do about it, while black market or grey market operators are supporting them.
From an operator's perspective, it's really important that these things are highlighted, because for us, the player safety is paramount, and these are not affiliates that you want to work with. I remember a few months ago when this came to light that everybody who was responsible, that had any kind of credibility, took a hard stance on this and just pulled their all advertising from any sites related to these guys, which I think is a great thing.
I think it's important to stress as well, and whilst the discussions around the operator and affiliate relationship, critically there are third parties involved in this, notably Google, who have since taken steps to add the particular term, casinos not on GamStop, to their whatever list of non-terms you can bid on, which has been great to see. And that has, I guess, come about from discussion in various communities, both on Twitter and in affiliate manager groups that exist on Facebook and Skype, which have come very useful. And I'd say beyond Google, third parties have also taken steps to enact and make this a success story. Because whilst, yes, these scumbags, we'll call them, not affiliates, are acting incredibly responsibly, they're not being given the vehicles that perhaps once had. And I know that Clarion Gaming did a very, very good job of making sure these affiliates were not welcome at this show. I'm hoping they haven't been able to get in and have passes to get in the door. So I think that is a particular success story for the industry.
But that's one of the things I like about the affiliate industry, is that with different operators, while technically, yes, we're competition, I see that we always come together. Like, we have Skype groups and chats, and we know people personally, and it's never competition between other operators. It's like we try to work together to do the best for the industry. It's not like who can get the more players or who can have more affiliates and things like that. That's what I love. It's never competition between other operators and affiliate programs, that we're working obviously together for the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there are frustrations that these things still get cut through in the industry. And on frustrations, David, as an affiliate, I think things have cleared up a little bit, but there's still a lack of sort of linear guidance on compliance from UK operators, let's say, in your case. Any specific examples of perhaps different guidelines you've been given that have caused issue?
I think the lack of clarity is more. It affects how we work, because even operators between themselves are sometimes not clear, and we do get a lot of conflicting information from the operators that we have to turn around super quickly without necessarily being able to plan ahead for. We're a pretty small team, but we are predominantly UK focused, and we work with the tier 1, tier 2 operators. We really take great care about everything we do, and as you said, the scumbag behaviours couldn't be further away from our thoughts, because when we do what we do, we look at establishing relationships with our users as long-term relationships, rather than simply exploiting clicks and pushing people through to operators for a few quid. So we really look at designing these programs around best practice operators and just rolling that out across the board, really.
Can I ask you, do you have a dedicated compliance person in your team?
We do not, no. We are trialing your software, though.
Yeah.
I wonder when the plug would happen.
Yeah, no, I didn't realise until the panel, but we are looking at it. I'll let you know. But it is difficult. It is a manual. It's very, very manual, and it is quite very time consuming. We have got great people in the team, and they all are genuinely skilled individuals. They know what they're doing, so we can trust them. But as we grow, and we are growing. We're growing internationally, and we're growing the footprint of the business. It becomes really difficult to continue to operate in that way. So technology has to step in at some point, and it just so happens we are looking at that tool. But as you said, there are others.
Yeah.
I think there's another thing here. A year ago, even up to a year ago, there was not a lot of clarity for affiliates from operators over how to do compliance, or put it this way, there were mixed messages, because the operators themselves were interpreting the guidelines differently, or certain guidelines differently, which is still going to continue to happen in other markets while the guidelines are being formulated. But what has been interesting is, because of tools like Gig Comply and ourselves and Wagio that do this, we see what clients are doing on the whole. So, we can take what 30 different clients are looking for and say, actually, this is something you should be doing. This is a standard, and here's a set of best practices that you can hand down to your affiliates, which is something we give to our operators that then they pass down. And the affiliates I know, I think, generally feel a bit more comfortable, at least in the UK market, that they're getting the same message from operators. There'll always be exceptions, because there'll always be interpretations to a degree. But until that really settles into a market, it becomes really difficult for an affiliate to know what to do.
Absolutely. So I wanted to jump back to the point about sort of quantifiable success, and I'm not really one to push for sort of sales pitches and successes, but I think it's really important to look at compliance and see the good that's come from perhaps some of the stricter measures that some operators have put in place, the one-strike policies that are there. And these are the things that, of course, affiliates that have been affected hang on, and it creates a negativity around. But what I'm really interested to hear from you particularly, Ian, is have you got any statistics to show how your tool and any other tools, I suppose, have really actually created strong compliance in a positive sense?
The problem with compliance is that they're going back to the interpretation thing, is that only an operator can make those decisions. So while there are certain things you need to look for, ultimately it's down to the operator to decide how to protect their license. So to give you an example, one of our reports, which does what we call life-changing terms. So an affiliate is not allowed to, in the UK, state that gambling can change your life for the better or improve your appearance. Okay. So there are obviously, within that report, there are certain terms you look for, like expressions like get rich, win millions and change your life and stuff like this. And these are examples of what affiliates shouldn't be doing, and they have to be very careful when they're talking about someone winning a jackpot. But ultimately, that can be done. The context that comes back in can be in different, it can be interpreted differently. And I was doing a workshop on Wednesday with clients, and we looked at an example of get rich, and it was worded in such a way. I think the affiliate had said, while playing this slot isn't a get rich quick mechanism, you could win millions and change your life. That was the intimation. So a software tool can't make that decision, because ultimately someone's license depends on that, potentially. Certainly they could be fined for it. So getting statistics in the industry for this is really, really difficult. All you can do is really get a better understanding from how clients are dealing with it. And I think in the UK market, there is a general understanding of how to do that now. There's certainly, from our clients, going around the show, talking to them this time round, they're saying we're quite comfortable with the way the UK works at the moment. What we're worried about is Spain and Italy. Are people in Italy promoting us or just talking about us, which is a huge thing in Italy. You can't promote an operator. So it's starting to move overseas, and stats are difficult to come by.
And Elaine, from an operator's perspective, when you consider compliance and how you enact it, are you very much ticking a box with this, or are you looking to actually positively engage affiliates if they've done something wrong, not just tell them how to fix it, but actually get involved in something a bit more than that?
Like Tom and I were actually discussing this before the panel yesterday, that compliance is a bit of a tick the box exercise at the minute, and I think what we really need to move more towards is realising why we're ticking this box and the reason behind it, and not just compliance, but the responsible gambling part of why we're doing it. But I forgot what you asked. What did you want? An example? It's day two, I'm sorry.
Just engaging affiliates.
Yes.
Let's say positive compliance rather than reactive compliance.
Yes, okay. So what I think would be a good idea that we could start as a standard practice from an operator side is, rather than telling somebody when they did something wrong, is tell them what your rules are, like when they join your program. So in an ideal scenario is when somebody joins gig affiliates, for example, straight away you're introduced to your account manager and you're sent not only like brand guidelines, marketing guidelines, but you're sent the like compliance and responsible gaming guidelines, so that, and even you can go as far as KYC. You just do it straight from the beginning as soon as you sign up, so there's no room for error. So they know straight from the beginning what you're expected of them.
And David, just point on KYC, this particular terminology for a business partner, I always found quite offensive personally when I've had to go through it. Is it something that, when that was thrust upon you as an affiliate, and perhaps it may even predate your time at EasyOdds, but I'm sure in new partnerships you're past KYC forms. And do you feel that sort of approach, whilst of course we've got to bear in mind as the operator is licensed, is not a balanced approach when it comes to the partnership? It doesn't set it up on the right playing field?
When you say KYC, do you mean actual KYC, operator, regulated?
Well, it's termed that, but really it's sort of supplier due diligence, I suppose.
We did a lot of work last year on EasyOdds.com to increase the amount of understanding we have about our users. We changed the entire registration funnel. We collect a lot more data. We ask people to tell us a lot more about themselves, what they like, what they don't like, who they currently bet with, who they don't bet with, so that we can actually tailor the experience to them. We consider that KYC. We're not checking their actual identity against the electoral roll and those sorts of things, because we don't necessarily need to, but we definitely need to build relationships with our users, because we want them to keep coming back to EasyOdds when they want to next place a bet. We offer price comparison across a bunch of different bookmakers. We give them advice and tips about events that are taking place that they may or may not be interested. The more we can tailor what we do to their interest, the more valuable we become and the more relevant we are for them. So we think that KYC in that perspective is essential. And we, as we expand what we do, we want to know if they're on GamStop, because at that point the advice we give them will be to not gamble and to actually perhaps seek help and advice, because we care about our users. We're not an affiliate business that sees it like herding cattle, which there are some that do. We actually talk about our users as our users, and if we loan them to an operator and allow them to place bets with an operator, we almost put it upon the operator to look after our customers. So it is not a one-way street. So we have but we're kind of different like that, and I don't know any of the other affiliates behaving the way that we are at the moment.
But I think like an affiliate program, KYC and EasyOdds, this was like a hot topic, or kind of started getting introduced last year with all the affiliate programs, KYC and affiliates. And there was a lot of debate of like, how stringent does it need to be? Is it a simple player KYC where it's like proof of address, photo ID, and like bank statement to show that you're doing a thing? Some people took it really extreme. I did a lot of research about this, because while you want to be compliant, is it a bump in the road? It was like, it's the right thing, but it's time consuming. Like, there's no easy way to do it, and everybody interprets KYC for each program themselves. The previous company that I worked at was very stringent. They had to have like the percentage of shareholders to each one, and passport copies, like notarized notarized like financial statements and everything. It was like really like a thorough check of that, and everybody defines that from each company. But now having this in place, I think it's so we need to know who we're working with as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough to say. Just touching on your point, David, and I guess kind of to you, Elaine, as well. The fact that every affiliate business is very, very different. I'm not entirely sure when it comes to interpreting the law from both a gambling law perspective in the UK and beyond, but also from digital marketing law, advertising standards,
LCCP.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that every affiliate is very different, the guidelines that are passed down by operators tend to be fairly, and yes, they will go into specific areas on occasion, but the broad guidelines that are passed down involving compliance are fairly linear. I guess that's the flaw with getting structure in compliance. Ian, I just wonder if you have any examples of around that your operator partners have really sort of focused in on any particular areas of affiliate marketing in terms of driving traffic that have been particular areas of concern of late.
I mean, obviously the GamStop thing we've talked about a little bit. It's going to depend a lot on the country. There's country specifics here, I think, that you'd be getting into. So it does vary from territory to territory. I think I kind of go back a little bit, because what David and Elaine were just saying about KYC, when you're an affiliate, one of the things that you're doing when you're driving traffic in, you might be as compliant as you can possibly be, but traffic's quite hard to get, and traffic is quite hard to convert. So good traffic, at least. So you want to know that the operator is doing everything they can. You want to know that other affiliates are compliant, so there's no threat to that affiliate program that you've just joined. So it's in everyone's best interest to get that right. But I do believe, speaking as an affiliate, I've seen a lot of programs overdo that. And actually as a player, because I've played a lot over the years, and you get to a point where the process of signing up and getting involved, the compliance and the regulation is just too stringent. So it's drawing that balance between knowing that you're sending traffic to someone that cares and does it right, but doesn't actually frighten the player away in the process.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of variables at play here, right? I guess it leads me to the next question about whether or not, as affiliates, David and Ian, in a past life, do you feel that affiliates should be actually the ones engaging a lot more with regulators, either individually or collectively? Has it become clear that perhaps the operators are not best placed to do this for them?
From an operator's perspective, ideally, in theory, yes, the affiliate should be engaging, but in reality, no, because it's our fine, it's our license, and it's us that get the fine.
But in fairness, affiliates are actually regulated. They are, maybe not by gambling law, but certainly by advertising standards law, where they can receive fines. I think there has been an interpretation in the industry that actually it's really only on the operator. And yes, the operator's license is at stake, but it doesn't mean there's not a threat to the affiliate business and a responsibility for any affiliate business, whether they are sole traders, one man in a shed, or a huge multinational business.
I think for me, it comes back to being it's a two-way street between the operators and the affiliates. And if there's open dialogue and actually it's operating like a relationship and a partnership, then it shouldn't ever be that complicated. If it's very much a self-serve, fill in a form, apply for an affiliate program, I'll send you traffic, you never know who I am, everything's very hands-off, then it becomes very, very complicated and very difficult. If it's done on a much more personal level and it's done on a more strategic basis, then everybody can be trusted to understand the rules and regulations and behave like grown-ups, because they all have businesses they need to grow and sustain. The operators need to do that, and the affiliates need to do that, and if everybody does their jobs right, everybody wins, and there's no benefit in playing silly buggers.
I'd argue that not everybody wins in that scenario, because in order to be able to do that and build those fairly deep relationships that require a true understanding of the business, not going beyond a form, that actually perhaps the only way to do that is, as some affiliate programs have done in the UK, is significantly curtail the number of affiliates they work with. And that gives the question in terms of operator growth. Yes, you can grow with those larger affiliates, but has compliance really hindered their ability to grow? And for the smaller, medium-sized affiliate, is there the same growth opportunity in promoting, let's say, regulated operators in a regulated market such as the UK, or should they be looking elsewhere? So it's a double question. One, from an operator perspective, can you grow at the same rate with a smaller number of affiliates, or ideally grow more? And for the affiliate perspective, are you better off looking at new markets?
I mean, if you want to keep your license, you've got to stay compliant, right? So whether that halts growth or not, it is what it is. But I see it as a bump, not to stunt growth at all. we have to accept this is a new normal now. Like the days of 10 years ago when everybody doing what they wanted is long gone. This is just, the sooner everybody accepts this is a new normal, the sooner that we'll go. But I think in terms of markets, nobody should put their eggs in all one basket, so to speak, like we've seen with Sweden. Sweden will never be the same as it was 2018. But I've seen cases of just Swedish affiliates only focusing on Sweden, and they have been dramatically hurt, and then trying to be so reactive to the situation where they're scrambling and to get footholds in other markets to stop the loss of revenue. So I think it's smart for affiliates to have their finger in more than one pie.
I think actually also on top of that, affiliates have to think a little bit about the future here. There's an opportunity here. If you can be compliant and you can get through the bumps in the road that we're going through now, when you come out the other side, there's going to be a lot less competition, all those people that didn't make it through. You're going to have a very, very good standard of content, because obviously it's very compliant. The industry is going to be viewed from the outside slightly better, so player loyalty will be better. So yes, you might be doing that at the moment, but there will come a point when there's less affiliates, probably traffic will start to grow again, and it'll be a better situation. We saw it in the finance industry, a very similar thing a few years ago with affiliates, where all the laws and regulations came in and all the big finance companies cut down on the number of affiliates, right down in some cases to 10 or 20 affiliates. But now there's opportunities again, because it's grown with a very compliant and knowledgeable atmosphere. So I would agree with that. But I think also finally on that, just going into other markets, it's very easy to say let's chase the money and let's forget the UK and let's go for unregulated markets as an affiliate. But all you'll really do is just like running away from something, because other markets are going to regulate in time. So if you're going to do that, most of our clients are suggesting that if you go into a new market, they're going to go in there with a basic set of compliance rules and regulations, even if they're not going to be enforced right now, to get the mindset that you need to be compliant and to make sure the content's good. And when the regulation does come, you've got a history, both from an affiliate point of view and an operator point of view, that says, look, yes, we've been in this market for years, yes, it's unregulated, but actually we've applied our own compliance and we've got our own regulation and we're quite solid.
I think, like, if in doubt, be over-compliant.
That's why we benchmark ourselves on the strictest rules, and we apply those across the board, and we find that generally helps us. Just that way we can't get it wrong, and it becomes part of our DNA. So we are expanding internationally. We will be carrying forward the same best practices into those markets, whether or not they're required or not, because that's just who we are, and that's just the way we like to do business, and that way we know we'll always be fine.
I think going back to what Ian says and David says, I think in the future what we'll see is more larger affiliates, and the smaller ones who can't comply or follow the set of guidelines, they'll start being weeded out, and then the bigger ones will get bigger. And I think that's how we're going to start seeing affiliates, like bigger, don't want to name affiliates, but they'll grow and grow and grow, and then they'll maybe buy the smaller ones, and more mergers and acquisitions.
I think there'll be a cyclical thing. I think you're right. I think it will go that way. It already, with the M&A, has started to. But I think everything is cyclical, and I think once it settles down, small niches will open up for smaller affiliates that have good ideas, and it'll just go in a cycle again, and you'll end up with that whole M&A, and they'll be bought up, and other companies will get bigger. So,
chasing the money is an interesting point. It's very easy to tell an affiliate to not chase the money, and that sort of delves in different areas. One is behave or not behave. Two is go into markets where there is perhaps not licensing, which is, let's face it, where affiliates have made the most hay historically and most likely will do in the future. It's very easy to say, let's not do that, let's grind it out. Most businesses can't afford to do that, not least operator businesses. Many of them are PLCs who have shareholders to answer to. There are arguably, the biggest now operator out there. Yes, they have some of the biggest brands in the UK, but they have considerable activity going on in grey markets, and as a vital part of their growth, in fact, where most of their growth is. Is it reasonable to expect those operators not to seek to work with affiliates in those markets, but rather focus on licensed arrangements in the UK?
I think that's a difficult one to answer, if I'm honest with you. I think there are affiliates in grey markets. Every company will have a different view on that. I think if you're working in grey markets, you'll go after affiliates in grey markets. If you're in unregulated markets, however you want to describe it. But a lot of those unregulated markets will regulate at some point. So,
yeah.
But I think if you're, obviously no, I'm not an affiliate, but how many times over the years have we seen somebody pop up in a grey market, they never get paid, and then like you never hear of them again? I think it would be a safer bet for affiliates to work with companies that are yet regulated and licensed, because you know that you're going to get paid. I mean, I've seen it so many times in the last 10 years, how many they come here, they exhibit, and then in 6 months you never see them again.
Yeah, but I have to say that also happens, particularly in the UK, where the cost of operating is ever increasing. The margins at play for marketing are diminishing. The legacy arrangements that some affiliates have and that still expect are perhaps not suited to operating in this market anymore. Is this market still a growth market for affiliates, really? Do you say, the UK?
I was on a panel actually fairly recently at another conference where we were talking about the regulation in the UK and what it's doing. Is it growing or not? And there's a real danger in the UK that there's over-regulation. And you get to a point where players and affiliates are just saying that's enough, but operators aren't. And you're clouding the market with unlicensed operators. That's the last thing the regulator wants. And I think there's a logical next step here, which is to follow what's happened in New Jersey, which is where the regulator, the UKGC doesn't have the ability or the resources at the moment to license affiliates. But what they can do is they can turn around to the operators and they can say, what we need you to do is not work on, you can't be represented on pages where unregulated casinos, unlicensed casinos are. And if that doesn't happen, then I think you've got a bit of a dying market in the UK, because regulation is just going to push everyone out and leave it open for grey market operators. But if they do that, that's probably good news for licensed and ethical affiliates, because that'll just put a platform under it, and then they can grow it again.
I mean, over-regulation is a huge concern of mine, I have to say, and it's something that is an incredibly real possibility. Anyone that's in the UK or reads industry press in particular will see the level of emotion that has now got into the debate around gambling, and online gambling in particular now. And affiliates is coming up increasingly in conversation in the Houses of Parliament, to the point where really I don't think being compliant and the efforts we've made and steps we've taken in the last 2.5 years, which have been great to my opinion, is anywhere near going to be enough to satisfy that emotional voice in the House of Parliament in the UK. So, to sort of bring to the last point of the conversation, we'll talk about responsibility to players, because I think perhaps this is one area that, you know, as an industry, we'd be very reactive to market changes. We give, such as the credit card ban in the UK, we give away ground. But more of this is going to happen, and I think the affiliate industry is a severe threat for that, unless we actually take stock of the real reason why we should be doing all of this. So what can be done to move beyond compliance well, across the world, but particularly in the UK where there's a real consideration, to demonstrate genuine player safeguarding? What steps can affiliates take and operators to help them to do so?
I'll take that. When I started at EasyOdds last year, one of the first calls I put in was to Neil MacArthur and the guys at the UKGC, because I wanted to speak to them as we were redesigning the user experience for EasyOdds.com. We wanted to have their voice in the room. So we wanted to know what they needed us to do. And they were great. They did engage, and we continue to have open dialogue with those guys. We think we want to be self-aware. We want to understand our own responsibilities. We want that, like I said before, as part of our DNA. I have a PML. I don't know how many affiliates have these things, but you know, it's important, I think, to hold your own self up to these standards. So that's one of the aspects.
David, just on the PML, can I just interrupt you, because I think that's a fascinating thing, and that's something that generally only really consultants and senior execs that operators undertake. But when we talk about affiliate licensing, perhaps that might be a logical thing. I was wondering if you could sort of enlighten the audience in terms of the process of PML. In fact, explain this in
a professional management license, which when I was on operator side, one of my responsibilities was compliance, and obviously you have to have a PML to be. But it means that you as an individual are checked out and that you are beyond reproach, but also that you understand the rules and regulations that are required to operate responsible gambling under a licensed regime. And I took that into EasyOdds, and I know what it is to be running a licensed gambling business as an operator. Therefore, I know what we need to do as an affiliate to make sure that we find the high quality players that our operators now are going to value, and whose relationships they're going to enjoy. We run a rev share based commercial model, which means that we only get paid when operators get paid. So it's in our interests to ensure that there's a long-term sustainable process that goes from acquisition of players through to delivering players to operators to then the ongoing engagement with those players. So we're all very, very aligned, and I don't know that was engineered from the start, but it just so happens to work pretty well. But whether that can be expanded and whether that can be extended, I'm not so sure. I think we are potentially in danger of over-regulation. I think there are unexpected consequences that will come from some of the changes, like the credit card change. I think that I think there's an issue with the industry, the organisation of all of the operators in the UK, for example, who seem to lack a voice that can challenge the criticism that is all over the media, which the politicians are enjoying so much. There's no one really from an industry side taking the initiative back to them. So I think there's a lot of work to be done with regulation, but simply just throwing more and more rules and more complexity isn't going to solve the problem. It's just going to move the problem around and make everybody's lives miserable.
I think it's an interesting point about led towards the Operator Trade Association, the new one, the Betting and Gaming Council, which hasn't really got full steam ahead yet. That is an operator-led thing. We had some senior people in the House of Lords, the CEO of GBC, for instance, the CEO of William Hill, pretty much sell affiliates down the river 2-3 days ago. There is a trade association now for affiliates, the Responsible Affiliates in Gambling Group. They are obviously still in the process of getting going and building membership up. But what would you like to see a industry trade body such as REG do beyond compliance and making sure their members are fully compliant, but in terms of true outward positive social responsibility? Any ideas that spring to mind that perhaps could not only excite but protect the industry as well?
One of the ideas that we're working to incorporate into our model is, for instance, doing a GamStop check on our registered users and tailoring their user experience based on
what has been the appetite in that? Because I know, having done a few conversations with GamStop, when trying to ascertain whether or not they would give affiliates access or the ability to cross-reference and suppress against a GamStop database, either via an operator or directly through GamStop. Has there been much reception to that?
Intellectually, they like the idea. The practical execution of how this is done is yet to be worked out. I don't think there's a template for it, but we're happy to try and work one out. It's a logical step. It's a situation where everybody's going to win from doing something, and partly what we're doing is explaining why we're doing it, and we're doing it for all the right reasons. We all have a shared interest in ensuring the responsibility of the work that we do and the quality of the players that we engage with, and the engagement we have with those players has to be relevant. And if those individuals are susceptible or where they've self-excluded, then we really, really would like to know that, because the last thing we want to do is encourage them to go gambling. So it needs to evolve. It's not there yet.
I was wondering if we had any questions from the audience for this panel. Are we going to go ahead to ask? No. In which case, I'll jump in with a couple more. So on sort of a blue sky level, would there be one sea change you would like to see in 2020 when it comes to the issue of the evolution of operator and affiliate teamwork when it comes to compliance? What one thing would you want to see change?
Like we were kind of saying earlier, I would like it to evolve from a box checking exercise to more understanding of why we're doing this. A lot more awareness I think we've seen a lot of articles in the media in the last few years or weeks or months about gambling, and I think we need to be more aware of this. And I've been in the industry for a long time, and I think it's only really come to light or been made more aware of or more publicly in the last few years. And I think that's a great thing, because you understand the whole cycle of your business, not just it's not just a player, it's a person. And I think we need to really start understanding this, as well as working more to be in a line between operators, affiliates, and the regulators of what is compliant.
We'd like to see more of a joined up connection between the work that we do acquiring players for operators, and then what happens with those players once they're with the operator, because at the moment there is absolutely no real connection. So we know we bring them to the door, but we don't really know what you do with them when you have them, and it would be in our mutual interests if we did, because that way, because we both, like I said, have a long-term perspective and we want to ensure that we maintain those relationships, it feels kind of odd that we literally just denied any knowledge from the point of view that we deliver a player. From that point, everything's aggregated, anonymized, etc. And then that's it, really. We struggle to be able to offer any more value.
Would you be interested in learning if a player had self-excluded?
That would be immensely valuable.
GDPR, unfortunately, people. We've not mentioned that, have we? Okay, Ian, last question to you. You've been quiet for a while. You run technology. Is technology the true answer to problem gambling resolution when it comes to affiliates?
I think it's an answer. It's part of the equation. I think Elaine touched on it earlier. There's a time thing. It's the best benefit for an affiliate and for an operator to be able to get these things out of the way and make sure everyone's compliant as quickly as possible. And ultimately, an affiliate applies to a program. It can take an operator, weeks to get round to checking those sites out, making sure they're a compliant affiliate. Whereas technology can obviously speed that up. You go in, you check the site, you pass data back. So I think it's part of the overall equation. But I think it's like your previous question, what would you like to see change? I think what the main change here, which affects this as well, is clarity. I think the regulators have all been settling into a routine. This is what we should do. This is trying to understand. But they've not really given true clarity over things, and I think that's what it really needs. It needs true clarity. So everyone knows this is what we do, this is how we do it. Now we get on with marketing and just dealing with the players and dealing with them properly.
And would you say it's not just true clarity, but actually true thought as to why we are implementing, and Elaine, you touched on it, why we're implementing compliance? What is the purpose of it? It's not simply to protect a license, to avoid fines, which I guess might come across in how things are communicated to affiliates. But really it's more about not just affiliates, of course, in this equation and those that work for them, but also operators and those that work at them too, to actually undergo a period of self-reflection, to understand potentially what harm they might be doing, even in what is considered good practice these days. What do you think could happen, as a final question, or to individuals in this industry do to consider more about protecting customers? What steps can you take?
I think it's just logic. All the regulators want three things. They want to protect vulnerable players, they want to stop under 18s from gambling, and they want to make money from tax. That's the three things that drives regulation. Okay, politicians dip in and journalists dip in and drive it. But it's just common sense. If you're running a business, if you think of those three things and your business protects yourself from those three things, you're not going to have too many problems.
I think we've got no more time, so I'd like to thank my panellists. I'd like to thank you for listening as well. Thank you.